Hi everyone. Have you ever dreamt of getting into one of the top programs for computer science and felt overwhelmed by all the resources and all the materials that are required for the application? So today I am here to discuss entire steps of how I got into the Masters in Computer Science program at Carnegie Mellon University, and we will discuss everything from my research experiences to my industry experience to my projects, and also what kind of an SOP I wrote and the essays that I got that got me selected. So if you want to know how and what you should do to increase your chances of getting into such top universities, stay tuned till the end of the video and we will discuss everything in detail. So before starting with the application process, I will let you know about my profile and how it looked when I was applying. This will help you get some background on what kind of experience I had when I was applying to CMU. So a very important part of your profile will be your research experiences. When you're applying to top programs like CMU, Stanford and so on, the research experiences attest to your capability to do research and show that you're interested in pursuing research further. So it is very recommended to get as many research internships as possible in your undergrad. So I started after my first year itself. I got an internship at UNSW Sydney in an online medium because of COVID, where my project was basically to analyze the graph structure of proteins in the COVID virus and like predict the mutation nodes. So that was my project. Obviously, this was a very significant project, and I learned a lot in this project. We didn't get the results we wanted, but there was a lot of learning involved, and I also had my first research experiences. Now, this experience can later be used to gain further research experiences. So my second experience was after my second year of BTech. So after completing my second year, I approached a professor from CMU itself for an internship, and he agreed to offer me a remote internship in a virtual medium. So there I worked on a project in deep learning, and there I have been working for like a past 1.5 years, and we are very close to like getting a paper. We are submitted it to multiple venues, and I think that is the main project on my profile right now, and I think this holds a lot of value when you work with such top labs and top professors, and it really adds to your profile. Also, I want to say that if you have a thesis project in your BTech, if you have that component, be sure to take it up, because that will also add to your undergraduate research, and it is almost always necessary for a person wanting to pursue masters to pursue an undergraduate thesis at the university. So if your university offers opportunities to go to other universities, or if it has an internal thesis program, be sure to go for it so that you have some research experiences to your profile. So these were the three researches that I did. So first was UNSW Sydney, where I worked on graph analysis of proteins. Second was with CMU, and I worked on deep learning. And third was my thesis project, where I worked on multi-core architecture. So there I worked on network security and hardware security. So that was a different domain. I wanted to explore that, and so I picked that domain. And I also got my letter of recommendations from two of the professors from these three projects. So that we'll cover that later as well. Having industry experience can also be very beneficial when applying for master's programs, because some of the master's programs are explicitly professional masters. So they want you to pursue an industry job after completing the masters. And some of the masters, like even like CMU, does not explicitly encourage you to go for a PhD later on. So it can be said that that is also focused more towards the industry. So it is essential that if you have such programs as your target, then you have some industrial experience as well. I think that helps too. So I did my third year summer internship at a software development company as an engineer, and I got a return offer from there. And the project was on distributed systems, and I enjoyed the project. So that was also a part of my profile and my application. Although it did not have any as such value as compared to my other academic or research projects, but I think it also shows that you can write good code and you can work with a team. So I think it is really important to also have an industrial internship if you can. So next, let us discuss some of the projects that I did. Projects are important because they show your proficiency in a particular field, and also they can attest to that you're able to work in large groups of students or work on large code bases. So I think that is an important part of your application. Coming to my project, so first project was on video models extraction. So this is basically adversarial ML or ML robustness if you are into that thing. So I really like this field, and this was the first project I did in this, and this was during my inter-IIT technical meet. So if you don't know, all the IITs have an annual competition where they come together and try to solve problem statements that are given by industries. So the problem statements are very well versed and very hard statements that IITs compete together and they come up with different solutions. So our solution won the silver medal that year, in this competition. And so this was a very good project that I did. Second project is also from the later edition of Inter IIT. So I worked on an optimization project where you have to come up with the optimization algorithm, and also a volume estimation project using deep learning. So these two were part of a single project, and this was also done by me in a later Inter IIT. So yeah, I wanted also to add that if you have Inter IITs or hackathons or something similar, please do participate in that, because the problem statements that are given there are of a much higher quality than what you can do if you just pick up a random project from YouTube or from somewhere else. So try to participate in as many hackathons or Inter IITs or any other type of competition that are conducted, and to come up with very good project ideas. And my other projects are my course projects. So we developed a compiler for a subset of C language called Nano C. So that is the standard project in most engineering colleges. So but we had a bit difficult assignments, so I included that in my resume as well. And we worked on creating a complete compiler for a subset of the language. Then we worked on an operating system called XV6. So we added many features to that operating system, and that was also a part of my projects. Then I built a word embedding visualizer using Word2Vec and so on. Not very difficult, but I really found that interesting, analyzing different texts and so on. So I included that as well. And yeah, so that is basically it about my projects. And I think this project shows a variety of machine learning and systems project, which was initially the kind of role I was hoping for when I was applying to masters. So I designed my profile in such a way that the application reviewing committee or whoever reads my application sees that I have an equal interest in both ML and systems, and I can work at the intersection of both of them together. So that was my aim to show, and I think my projects are a good testament to that. So whichever role you're applying for, whichever domain you're planning to do your masters in, make sure that your projects also weave a story around that. So you will not talk a lot about your projects in your SOP or somewhere else, they are just in your resume, but it really helps if they are also like somewhat related to the field that you're trying in. So I think in masters you have to have a sufficient breadth but also certain depth, so T-shaped learning, which we call. So just try to have breadth in different areas that you can list in your proficiency, and then you can have a depth in a particular area like ML or systems, whatever. So work on some hard projects in that area. That really helps. Coming to extracurriculars and leadership positions and so on. So I was the secretary of the coding club of my college, IIT Guwahati, for a year, and we did a lot of work in spreading awareness about programming in Northeast and so on. So I also included that, because some of the master's application, generally they ask for what is your commitment to diversity and spreading awareness and so on. So this type of roles really help in crafting a good essay there. And secondly, I was also the contingent leader for IIT Guwahati in the Inter IIT Tech Meet. So, and we stood fourth over there. So that was also a very good leadership experience that I had, managing multiple teams, working in different domains and so on. A lot of learning there. So I mentioned that as well. And I think these two things really go to show the depth of your personality. Further than your academics and your industrial experiences, these add a bit of personality to your profile, and they show that you can also work with teams. And again, you are a good person, I think, in a holistic way. So if you have these experiences, try to also add them and highlight them. Don't add these in your SOP. If the college does not specifically have a separate essay for a personal statement or something, then you can maybe add a very small paragraph about these in your SOP. But otherwise, try to steer clear of these from your SOP and write them separately when they're asked, because SOP is meant to be entirely professional and based on your future goals and not on your PORs and your extracurriculars, right? So this is how my profile looked at when I was applying for masters. Next, we will discuss all the various stages of the application and when you should get started, the timeline, so that you have a smooth application process. So let's jump into that. So the first thing that generally comes to mind while applying for masters are the entrance examinations, that is GRE and TOEFL. So these are like absolutely necessary for some universities, and some universities generally waive it off. So be sure to check how many universities actually require GRE and have a list of them. So also I would recommend you to create a spreadsheet, and where you list all the universities, their fees, their courses, some of the professors that you like, the location, the GRE requirements, the TOEFL requirements, and the rankings and so on, so that it's better for you to shortlist. I will create a separate video for shortlisting on universities later on, but this is just a brief process there. And coming to GRE and TOEFL, so my GRE score was 331 out of 340. I gave the longer GRE. So I scored 161 in the verbal section and 170 in the quant section. And this was basically my score. I think the quant score is very important. if you're applying to these kind of CS or finance type of position, finance type of masters. So try to score high on the quant side. It is not very difficult. You just need a bit of practice and a bit of awareness to avoid silly mistakes. Now coming to TOEFL, so TOEFL was very easy if you give it after GRE. So even like 1 week of preparation is enough for TOEFL. I will create a video on that soon. So I scored 119 out of 120 in TOEFL. I think I lost my 1 mark in the listening section, but the rest of it was pretty easy. And I have also created a detailed video for preparing for GRE separately. You can check that here in the I section. And the timelines for these. So I applied, like I think I gave my GRE in the September and I gave my TOEFL very late in November. So I would not really recommend that. We done with our examinations in September itself. So in August, September, we done with the GRE and TOEFL so that you have time later on to work on your SOP and your letter of recommendations and so on. So don't postpone TOEFL for later. Just give your GRE and within 1 week, book your TOEFL appointment and give your TOEFL exam. So that is about the exams. So coming next to the essays, which are arguably the most important part of your application, the statement of purpose. So statement of purpose tells about why you want to join Carnegie Mellon University or whichever university you're applying to, what has been your previous experiences, how they relate to your future goals, and what are your goals after graduating from the university. So in this, you basically pitch yourself to the university on how you are going to contribute to the university and what exactly fits between you and the university. So that is very important. So go through the prompt that the university gives. Different universities have different expectations from their SOP. So I recommend you to like note down the prompts in that Excel sheet that I mentioned earlier. And while writing your SOP, keep that prompt in mind. Also, highly recommend you to not use any type of AI engine like ChatGPT or anything to write your SOP from start to finish. You can use it to rephrase sentences. You can use it to point out errors and so on. That is really helpful. But please don't use AI to generate entire paragraphs from your essay because it is very easy to detect. And if it is detected, then it is a very big red flag for the application. So you can use tools like tools that are available online to check if it is AI generated or not. But still, I would recommend you to not generate your essays completely using ChatGPT. So write it. It is a very fun part, you can say, and then get it reviewed by a number of people. So you will see that your essay changes a lot after like few iterations by review from your seniors, the people who are already studying at those universities, your teachers and so on. So make sure to get it reviewed a lot. And the timeline for your SOP should be somewhere around September. So get it done by September or October mid at max. So don't wait till the end and send it to a number of seniors so that you can get it reviewed, because those reviews are really important and they will change the shape of your essay by a huge margin. Also, don't copy anyone else's essay that since they have already got into a program, so you feel like you will copy, then you will have good chances. That is not the case, because every student has a different profile. So never copy any essay. So coming to the structure that I followed for my SOP. So first of all, I started with an introduction where I told that I'm interested in machine learning and AI, and I'm interested in the systems that are behind it and their security and reliability and so on. So I mentioned about that. I could have cut it shorter, but at that time I felt that it was very passionate and it sounded really nice, so I kept it. Then from second paragraph onwards, I started listing my experiences, my research experiences. So first I talked about my UNSW research internship. Then I talked about my inter-IT competition where I worked on ML robustness and ML attacks. So that was my first experiences. So that was very important. Then I wrote about my Carnegie Mellon project, that in where I worked on deep learning and anomaly detection and how we are going close to a paper over there and so on. I think that is also very important. So whenever you are listing a project, use the STAR method. I think I read about it in another video. So STAR method is basically you first tell about the problem, then you tell the action that you took, and finally you tell the results. So I think this is the format that you should follow for every project that you mention, and it is very important to be concise and also very objective in whatever that. So try to include numbers and results if there are any, but also make sure that this SOP will be read by people who are not always CS faculty or PhDs. So also don't make it very technical so that nobody is able to understand, but keep a good balance between technicality and also being very general about what your research field is. Then I wrote about my other projects, my software engineering experience and so on, and finally my thesis project. And finally, after all these experiences, I moved to why CMU fits me. So this is what are my previous experiences and what kind of work I have done, why this relates to the future. now this is a very important paragraph where you basically match yourself and the university. So you talk about the fields that you want to research there further, and you back that with evidence. So if you have already mentioned some kind of project or some kind of experience early on, try to cite that, like try to reference that, and then say that since I have already done this, I would like to explore further. And further, you can say you can pick up some labs at your university. So find some labs or some professors who are working in that domain and mention their exact names and the labs that you are interested in these fields. So this will be very helpful, and this like makes your application really stand out because you're doing that effort and you're finding specific people with whom you want to work. So this is very important, like really important. And you should always find labs and professors with whom you want to work. I think three is the minimum that you should always aim for if you're applying for a master's. And you can also even add the courses that you want to take. So if there are any specific courses that align with your research interest, be sure to mention that course as well. And I think this is a very important part of your essay, and you should like revise it again and again till you find a very coherent reading. So first you tell that you are interested in these fields, then you tell that these are the professors who are working in these particular fields and I would like to work with them. So that is very important, and this is a huge part of your SOP. Now after that, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any extracurriculars or awards that you want to mention and there is no separate section in the application for that, you can write a very small paragraph about your most important achievements and about your like community service and leadership positions and so on. So you can write a very small paragraph about that, and finally you can conclude. So while concluding, you can also mention about your future plans. So if you want to become an ML engineer or ML scientist, or you want to do a PhD, so just be sure to always check what the university expects. So if the university is expecting people to go on and do PhD further, it is better for you to write that you will do a PhD. And if the university is a very industry focused program, I don't think you should write a PhD there. You should mention that you want to work in the industry and work in real world problems and so on. So don't make it sound very generic, make it sound very specific. Be as specific as possible in your SOP. It really helps. And that you're wanting to work on a particular field, you might want to change that later on when you go to the university or you're selected. That entirely depends on your interest. But for maximizing your chances of application and acceptance, I think it is best to be very specific on a particular domain. So don't just say I'm interested in machine learning and you write a like essay on machine learning. Don't do that. You just focus on a particular field on which you are really interested in, on which you think your experiences and your projects can be linked up together to form a cohesive essay, and just write about that. And maybe when you reach there, you can explore that field, or you might even want to switch. Nobody will hold you responsible for it. So it is very important to craft a very good story here. So SOP is all about how coherent your story is, how you started with different experiences, how you find your niche from there, and then why you want to work on it further, and with whom you want to work on it, and how that university will be a good fit for you. I think I'm really stressing on this point because this is the most important part of your application, and if you get this wrong, then the entirety of your application is not really useful then. So be very specific about your SOP and get it reviewed from as many people as possible. Give it to your seniors, your batchmates, and people who are also applying with you. Don't like keep your SOP to yourself. Don't do these things. Share it with them so they can also read and point out errors or point out betterments to you. And you can use AI here as well to rephrase certain parts of a paragraph, or if you want to make it shorter and stuff. But don't use AI to generate entire paragraphs and copy paste that. That is very easy to detect. So yeah, that's about your SOP. So the next crucial part of the application is the letter of recommendation. So an LOR or letter of recommendation is issued by a professor or your manager at work and so on. So since I'm going fresh out of undergrad, I used all the recommendations from my professors. So I got 3 of them. So you need 3 minimum, and my 3 of them were 2 of them were from my thesis advisors, and 1 of them was from my research internship advisor at CMU. So this is how I got my LORs. Now one important thing about LORs is you should be very punctual with LORs, and you should tell them well in advance around September, October that you're going to apply for masters later on, and you will apply to like a tentative of 10 or 6 or whatever number of universities you have. Give them a list and give them the deadlines that are there for those universities. And if you want them to follow a specific format or something, be also sure to send them that. So you have to be very punctual for the letter of recommendations, because the professors are generally very busy and they won't be able to write up a recommendation and submit it on the portal at the last minute. Also, just note that in the portal that the professors have for uploading letter recommendations, they also sometimes have a number of questions like to rank you amongst ex students or something like that. So you can also let them know of any other experiences that you might have had. So you can send them an email sending like what is your relation with that professor, how much time you worked for, and what projects you worked on. And except that, also tell if you are part of something else, part of some group or some committee of your department, or anything else which might help him write an essay. And also, like before you are submitting your application, make sure to confirm if you are submitted or not. You will also see the status on your application portal, so just make sure it is submitted before you submit the application. So that is all about letter of recommendations. So this was all about my journey of getting into CMU's MS in Computer Science program. It was a combination of good academics, relevant research experiences, industry experiences, and finally a well-crafted all-round application. So if you found this video helpful, please give a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I will make more videos on applying for masters and about CS academics, about how you can make the most of your undergrad, and so on in the upcoming days. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I will be very happy to answer them. So good luck with your applications, and I'll see you soon.